All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's update on the Alberta wildfires. We'll begin with remarks from Minister of Forestry, Park and Tourism Todd Loewen, followed by updates from Colin Blair from the Alberta Emergency Management Agency, followed by Christie Tucker from Alberta Wildfire. We'll then take your questions, so over to you, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by thanking the many people who are working around the clock right now to protect our communities. And I know they're working around the clock because I was out at 6 o'clock this morning with some of them, and I know some of them were up till midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning the night before. So there are thousands of Albertans as well as first responders from across Canada and the United States fighting wildfires, helping out in reception centers, and keeping people connected with friends and neighbors. Each of these actions is helping to ease some of the stress and uncertainty being faced by so many communities. I want to thank the tireless efforts of our firefighters, the Canadian Armed Forces, and everyone involved in responding to this unprecedented situation. Each of these actions is helping ease the stress of uncertainty for those facing our communities. Thanks to these tireless efforts, I was pleased to learn that this afternoon the evacuation order for the town of Drayton Valley and parts of the Brazeau County are partially lifted, and staggered community reentry is now occurring. Also, earlier this afternoon, the fire chief for the county of Grand Prairie indicated that those residents will be able to return later today. Good news for those residents. The hot and dry weather continues, and the conditions for wildfires remains extremely volatile. Our number one priority is to protect all human lives as we fight these wildfires and face the challenging weather and severe fire conditions that we're experiencing. Let's all help those efforts by avoiding any activities that might start new fires or make our current situation worse. As you may or may not know, I live near the Valley View region. My heart is with my friends, neighbors, and community who have recently been evacuated from their homes. My thoughts are also with those from other parts of the province who have also had to endure what my community is going through right now. For everyone who has evacuated, please know that supports are available. Visit alberta.ca/emergency or call 310-4455 for information on supports, including evacuation payments. And if you're struggling with your mental health, please call or text info to 211 to be connected to digital or local support services near you. Virtual counseling services are also available through Counseling Alberta. You can learn more at counselingalberta.com. Alberta has been working with impacted municipalities and Indigenous communities to support local response efforts. We recognize that some of these communities have people with firefighting experience coming forward to volunteer to assist with our efforts. On behalf of all Albertans, I want to share our profound appreciation for their bravery and thank them for their willingness to respond to this unprecedented situation. We understand with the lack of compensation for these volunteers may create barriers, as some may not be able to leave their regular jobs to join firefighting efforts or continue their selfless work. That is why the government is stepping in to remove this barrier by supporting the municipalities, First Nations, and Métis settlements being impacted by wildfires, helping them cover the costs of compensating volunteer firefighters. We're empowering local authorities who are in the best position to lead local firefighting activities in their areas to determine the best way to use their volunteers. So to our local leaders, please track the expenses that may be mounting as you hire volunteer firefighters so you can submit claims to the provincial government. Where possible, Alberta will use existing disaster assistance programs to reimburse local authorities for volunteer firefighter compensation. We'll be informing local authorities of this approach and will work with them to ensure they get the support they need for paying volunteer firefighters. Volunteers who are interested in stepping up should contact their local authority or send an email to emergencysupportoffers@gov.ab.ca. I want to again sincerely thank all first responders, members of the Canadian Armed Forces, evacuation center staff, community members who are working day and night to protect Albertans and their property and support evacuees through this emergency. The situation remains very volatile, and I'd like to ask once again to ask Albertans to listen to their local officials for information. Please download the Alberta Emergency Alert app and pay close attention. and I want to encourage all Albertans to be prepared. People in communities that are on evacuation alert should pack an emergency kit with important medication and documents and enough food and supplies for a minimum of 7 days. Albertans can visit alberta.ca/beprepared for information on how to prepare for evacuation. Thank you, and I'll now invite Colin Blair to provide an update from the Alberta Emergency Management Agency.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Minister Loewen said, the evacuation order for the residents of the town of Drayton Valley has been partially lifted, and a staggered community re-entry is set to begin. Prior to returning to the community, municipal officials are asking evacuees to fill up their vehicles and purchase some groceries. The approach outlined by the municipality will help reduce traffic on the highways and allow for a safe re-entry. We strongly advise that residents read the community re-entry information booklet on the town's website before returning home. Thank you to all the firefighters, emergency responders, incident management personnel, staff and volunteers who have worked tirelessly to support their community during this challenging time. While the developments in Drayton Valley are certainly good news, the province still faces many challenges. Alberta continues to be under a provincial state of emergency, and the Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre remains at a level 4. In addition to the state of emergency, there are 22 states of local emergency, as well as 5 band council resolutions. About 19,479 Albertans remained evacuated at this time, and there are 13 reception centres that have registered evacuees. In the past 24 hours, there have been changes to evacuation orders and alerts. The total number of evacuation orders now stands at 21. In particular, an evacuation order is now in place for the town of Swan Hills. Residents of that community should go to the reception centre in Barrhead and pay close attention to details in the emergency alert. All residents who are evacuating should register at the nearest reception centre or online. So far, more than 15,918 people are registered. Registering makes it easier to get help and resources to evacuees, and it makes it easier for officials to reach residents with important updates and information. The wildfire situation continues to be extremely volatile. Hot and dry conditions continue in much of the province and pose a significant threat to many communities. Fire bans are in effect throughout most of Alberta. People need to be aware of and follow fire bans. Smoke is affecting the air quality and visibility throughout Alberta. A special air quality statement has been issued for the entire province. In areas of extreme smoke, people should consider staying inside as much as possible. As well, those who need to drive should check 511 for information on road conditions and closures. The 511 app features a hand-free service for the most up-to-date information. For those in a community on evacuation alert, the situation can change quickly. An evacuation order could come at any time with little or no warning. Being prepared is the key to saving lives. It is imperative to be prepared. To this end, pack an emergency kit that will last for a week or more with essential items like medication, identification, a first aid kit, flashlight, batteries, non-perishable food, cash, and clothing. This kit should be kept in an accessible location, ready to go on a moment's notice. And we urge people to have a plan for their pets. Alberta SPCA officers can assist. People can contact the SPCA at 1-800-455-9003. Evacuated farmers and ranchers should call the Wildfire Resource Line at 310-4455 with questions regarding livestock. Many agricultural and livestock societies are prepared to assist. Farmers and ranchers should also check with their municipality if there is a need to return to the land to check on livestock. Albertans can find evacuation preparation tips and more online at alberta.ca. To be prepared, Albertans must stay informed. The best way to receive the latest wildfire information is by downloading the Alberta Emergency Alert application. Everyone in potentially impacted communities should pay attention to emergency alerts and listen to local news updates, and make sure the information is from trusted and verified sources. In addition to downloading the Alberta Emergency Alert app, they should follow their local authorities' social media accounts and other notification messages. We are doing all we can to protect communities at risk, but all Albertans need to remain vigilant and closely follow updates on the current wildfire situation. It is critical for all of us to comply with all fire bans and stay connected with our local authorities. Finally, I want to remind evacuees that we will have a nightly telephone town hall they can join. The call begins at 7:30 p.m. and are a great opportunity for evacuees to get information they need. They can join the town hall by calling 1-833-380-0691. Thank you, and I will now turn things over to Christie from Alberta Wildfire for more information on the provincial wildfire situation.
Thank you, Colin. There are 86 wildfires in the forest protection area of Alberta. 24 of those wildfires are out of control. So far this year, we've responded to 472 wildfires, burning 616,000 hectares. The latest wildfire information is available on our interactive map or on the Alberta Wildfire Status app. Many Albertans woke up this morning to smoke in the air, which is a constant reminder of the intensity of this wildfire season. But the appearance of smoke is not necessarily an indication that a wildfire in your vicinity is more active. Smoke can travel long distances, and you can see where the smoke is coming from on websites like firesmoke.ca. Smoke has actually offered some help to create cooler conditions in some areas, and so far today, our wildfires have been slightly less active than anticipated. We're seeing a continuation of gusty northwest winds today that will continue to affect smoke movement in the province. Under these conditions, we did see some growth on a number of wildfires yesterday, particularly in the areas north and west of Edmonton, and it's been keeping firefighters hard at work. Joining the 900 firefighters assisting us from other agencies are 60 more arriving from Ontario today. We have the ability to bring in more help, not only from other provinces, but other countries if we need to. The wildfire landscape is still changing as we see some wildfires contained and others starting up. With no significant rain expected in the coming days, we ask all Albertans to respect the fire bans and restrictions in place across the province. These are actions every Albertan can take to help us manage this wildfire situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christie. We have no reporters in the room, so we will go to the phone lines first. Each reporter will have one question and one follow-up. Please note, in addition to our speakers, we also have Sean Iwaziak from Municipal Affairs, who can speak to the volunteer firefighter payments, and Dr. Laura McDougall and Stacey Greeting from Alberta Health Services on the phone, who can answer any questions regarding air quality issues. Operator, could you please put through the first caller?
Thank you. First question is from Alana Smith, Globe and Mail.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. This morning, an email from Alberta Public Service Commissioner Tim Grant was sent to provincial employees asking those with firefighting experience to join the fight against wildfires. So I think my question is for Christie. I'm wondering how comfortable fire officials are with the call out for citizen firefighters.
You know, our public service individuals have a wide range of experience and education that they have. And the call-out is obviously a volunteer call-out for any of them that would like to join in our fight against wildfires. So I think they can make their choice on that. It's not anything where they're being coerced at all to do this. But some of them have that experience, and I think some of them may take us up on that offer to be able to help their fellow Albertans. They all have important jobs they're doing now, but fighting fires is important right now, too.
I think Christie has something to add, Minister.
I'll just add that from early on in this wildfire situation, we have been bringing in additional resources and help where we can find it. This announcement certainly complements the request that has already been made to all Albertans with wildfire fighting experience to contact the email from AEMA and have their skills evaluated to see how we can put them to work fighting fire.
And do you have a follow-up question, Alana?
I do, yes. I know we've asked this before, but is there anyone able to give us an update on property damage or if there are any injuries that have been reported as a result of wildfires, and not to residents or firefighters that are attacked in the blazes?
Thank you very much for the question. We are aware that there are damages out there, but we will work closely with the local authorities on this. This is part of the re-entry process. Damage assessments are done. The first people that are notified of damage or destruction are the owners of the homes and businesses. So we will continue to work with the local authorities as they move through response into re-entry. And as we start to go through this event, we'll start to capture some of those details as we get the communities back home.
All right, operator, can you please put through the next caller?
Adam Leckbicker, Global News.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my question. I also have a question about the memo that was sent to government employees today, kind of a call out for help. Just wondering what the resources are like on the ground, and is this memo is kind of a testament to the severity of the wildfire situation happening right now?
Yeah, obviously we're in a very severe situation right here in Alberta. The widespread fires, the amount of them across the whole province is affecting a lot of people, a lot of communities. And so we're pulling out all the stops that we can to try to get as many experienced people on the front lines as we can. And we're looking for that help. And again, going to the public service, I think it's a good opportunity to have some of those folks, if they choose to come forward and help on those front lines. Not sure, Christie, would you like to add anything?
I can confirm that we have a combined total of 2,500 folks working on fire here in Alberta, and that includes Alberta Wildfire staff and the additional resources that we've brought in from other agencies as well. We do have requests in for more. Certainly, there's something we need to keep top of mind is ensuring that firefighters have a chance to rest and recuperate and come back, and that is one of the things that we have been one of the ways we've been using these additional resources coming in from outside the province to assist with incident management teams and ensure that the folks out there fighting the fire are always full of energy and able to do their best.
Great. And do you have a follow-up, Adam?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the answer, folks. The follow-up question, I guess, is how is the government and officials making sure that the folks that do step forward and say they want to step up and help, make sure they do have the proper qualifications and training, and make sure that they are going to be safe out there if they do get sent out on the front line of the fire?
Yeah, so everybody that comes forward in a situation like this will be asked for their experience, and if there needs to be any kind of upgrading to their training, then that can happen too. So we're looking at each individual one at a time to see what their qualifications are and where we can best use them. And again, if they need any upgrading, we're willing to do that too.
Great. Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Nicole Weisberg, CTV.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to ask about the wind forecast and sort of how the changing winds have been impacting things. It's because some people are being let back. Did that actually help in areas like Drayton Valley with the change in winds? And then obviously Swan Hills is being evacuated now. So is that hurting in some areas? And then I believe there's a forecast for another change in winds later this week. And are you watching that, and how do you think this will impact things?
Yeah, we do have people watching the weather constantly and predicting what will be happening in the future. Of course, the accuracy is really good up to about 3 days, and beyond that, it can be a little bit tough to predict. When it comes to how it's affecting the communities, sometimes these wind changes have actually taken the fire away from communities, and sometimes it's taking it towards. So there's been both good and bad in these changes. We always hope for lower temperatures, higher humidity, and less wind, but we're not always getting that. In fact, that's not been the norm so far this season. I'm not sure, Christie, if you'd like to add some.
That's correct. The changing winds have been detrimental or beneficial to different wildfires depending on the location in proximity to the community. So certainly, I mentioned yesterday, we have been watching those winds very, very carefully. We had hourly updates on the movement of the cold front, so we know exactly what to expect as to where those winds are blowing. Happy to say we are going to be expecting some lighter wind activity. The wind will be dying down a bit today, which will be a boost to firefighters, but things can change quickly, and particularly when the wind is blowing in new directions. So we do have experts who are working on that and have an idea of where the winds are going to be changing and what areas we need to focus on.
Do you have a follow-up? Sorry.
Maybe I'll just ask sort of generally, with the winds picking up, how that changes the firefight in general. I know that, on the weekend when things were cooler, there was a lot of focus on building, protective breaks and that kind of thing around communities. Now is it just kind of all hands on deck fighting fires, or what's happening right now?
All those things are happening at all times. When the winds are one direction, we're working on fire guards to protect from that direction. And if we see that there's going to be changes, then we shift to that as soon as we can. There's constantly work being done on the perimeters of the fire, trying to keep the smaller flames down so they don't grow into bigger flames. But again, it's with the changing weather conditions, we have to be ready to adapt and move. And we have good professionals on the ground that are working with that information that's coming from the professionals that are predicting the weather.
Great. Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Aaron Collins, CBC National.
Thanks for taking my question. So this is a question for the minister. There's generally a consensus among scientists that human-caused climate change makes forest fire seasons longer and much more extreme. You and the Premier have called this fire season unprecedented. So I'm wondering, do you think climate change has contributed to the wildfires burning in Alberta right now?
There's no doubt that a changing climate has changed things in Alberta and around the world. We look at the number and intensity of the fires this year and the widespread fires that we have. It's something that we haven't seen before. In past years, we've had large fires that have burned in extensive areas, but this year we have multiple fires across the province. We're in definitely a high heat, low humidity situation here in Alberta right now, and we have to be able to adapt to that. I think as we go through this season and beyond, we'll be having to review things and make sure that we're on top of things moving ahead in the future. We're doing really well with the hand we've been dealt weather-wise, but again, we'll be constantly improving and working towards things in the future.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, just for clarification, do you believe that change in climate is caused by emission of CO2 into the atmosphere?
I guess you kind of broke up there a little bit. Did you repeat that one?
Yeah, sure. I'm just curious if you think that you acknowledge that the climate is changing. I'm curious if you think that, as most scientists do, that man is causing that change in climate through emitting CO2 into the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, definitely man has a effect on our environment here. There's no doubt about that, and I think we have to be careful as we go forward and be conscious of the environment. And there's widespread concerns on that and how we can improve that going forward in the future.
All right, operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Carly Robinson, City News, Edmonton.
Hi there. I just want to go back to what Alana had asked, and it wasn't really answered, about injuries. Is there anyone tracking injuries associated with wildfires in Alberta right now?
Yeah, we'll go to Colin here.
Hi, Lana. Thank you very much for the question. At this time, there have been no injuries reported to the Provincial Emergency Coordination Center. That doesn't mean that local authorities aren't having injuries on site and tracking them. I guess the good thing is that we haven't had a fatality to this point in time, and let's hope we can do the rest of this response in that manner.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, if there was a case where, because volunteer firefighters and firefighters for the communities were injured, are there any supports that the province has in place if one of these people volunteering to fight the fires is injured?
Well, thanks for the follow-up question. They would be treated like any other responder. The appropriate care and attention would be given to them to get them treated as soon as possible and taken care of.
Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Kelly Malone, Canadian Press.
So British Columbia today said a firefighting team that had gone to Alberta would be returning to that province to help in its fires. Have you seen your firefighting resources be pulled to other areas, either in BC or the Northwest Territories, as the situation rages in other areas?
We have seen the conditions that we've had here in Alberta extend to some other areas of Western Canada, certainly recently, and that is something that we expect to see as wildfire season unfolds every year. We have had a team from British Columbia here in Alberta assisting us for some time now. If they are being moved back to British Columbia, that's certainly something that we expect to happen on a regular basis, and we move resources around that we have here in the province on an ongoing basis. As I said today, we have 60 coming in from Ontario. We have assistance from all across the country in many areas which have not been affected by the conditions that they're seeing next door to us, and we have also the ability to ask for additional assistance from further afield if we need it.
And do you have a follow-up question?
With the call out for public service employees to volunteer and talk with other regions and countries for help, what are you actually looking for in numbers above and beyond the 2,500 people you have helping right now?
Keeping in mind that we have to keep our firefighters refreshed, and we have firefighters coming on duty and leaving duty for a brief break. We do have currently 900 firefighters in the province from outside the province, and we have requests for a significant number more, certainly to keep up the pace, because we have to plan for not only the situation that's in front of us today, but for the situation weeks from now.
All right, operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Billy Mertz, Global News.
Thanks. I know you said it's hard to forecast outside of sort of a 3-day range, but given that we've had such an early onset of wildfire season, is there any idea as to how long you'll have to sustain this type of fight with resources that we have and possibly more?
I don't think we have a time frame in mind. As we look into the future, there's always, when I see the forecast, I always see an opportunity that maybe a cold front will come along, maybe some precipitation, and then as we get closer to that, sometimes that changes. So I think as we look forward, we're looking at more hot, dry weather coming up, and that leaves us in a situation where we need to be concerned, we need to be vigilant, and we need to be working as hard as we can on these fires. But again, you're exactly right. I mean, when we look ahead, it's hard to predict very far into the future. I mean, we have the best technology available. Our people are in consultation with other people around North America to try to get as much information as we can to do the best job we can. And it isn't like we're lacking anything in our weather predictability. It's just the nature of the business.
And do you have a follow-up, Emily?
Yeah, just a clarification maybe for Ms. Tucker about reading the interactive wildfire map. I noticed on the graphics there are about 20 red flames, which I believe are out of control, but the graph on the left shows 24. So I'm just wondering, how do we figure out the out of control number?
I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to reference the map now to follow you. Maybe if we can get you a response offline.
We'll follow up with you, Emily. Operator, sorry, we have time for one more caller. So, operator, could you please put through our final caller?
Joël Bouchard, CBC.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I just want to have some clarification on how smoke can actually help lower temperature or have better conditions, and exactly what's the effect on the fire on the ground.
Certainly. Well, the elements that we know play a part in wildfire activity and intensity are heat, the ground and fuels that the fire is burning on, and wind. And certainly when we have smoke cover that's covering the sun, that does reduce the heat on the ground significant amount. And when we have a reduction in that in those conditions, we can see less wildfire activity than we would see on a blazing hot day. So it can provide an opportunity for firefighters to make progress on a wildfire while activity is low.
And do you have a follow-up question?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right, that's all the time we have today. So please note that a media situation report will be distributed later today, and there'll be another update tomorrow afternoon. Thank you, everyone.